Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show, it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Hightown. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we have the whole Jackie and Alan thing. Jackie's still putting in work trying to find Daisy, and Alan's kind of saying, like, we're going to have to put it in a wrap. Because the sad thing is, there's no guarantee we'll ever find Daisy's body, but it's like, right, you've been doing good work. The fact is, you got Daisy's parents to actually file a missing person report. You've done all you can, but the fact is we got to be putting these resources somewhere else, because these are woods, because I think those are probably the same woods that maybe Kizzle's body was found, so probably other bodies there, but it's like, no, turns out not to be the case. So, but the moment they kind of threw that out there, I was like, well, because we know where Lance's buried. I was at the time I was on, I was like, is that where Daisy is? And I guess that's Frankie's own spot to do that, I guess. That's probably his go-to spot. Other spots of people related to him and related to might end up there. But I guess when Frankie does, because they only find 2 bodies there. Technically 3, but we'll get to that later. But they found Daisy and Lance's body. So that must be a new spot for Frankie to do his business. So I knew this was all going to come around the moment Charmaine let Osito know. The moment she dropped that address, it's like, yo, if I ever go missing, you'll find my body here. And I'm like, yeah, Osito's going to use that to his advantage, which he ultimately does. But because Charmaine's planning to get out of the game, at the very least, she's getting away from Frankie. It's like Frankie's acting crazy and bananas. It's like, man, he killed Lance. She's like, man, he was actually a good dude. He was a cool dude too, because he was letting her he was going to teach her to fly and stuff. He was a pretty good guy. You feel so bad for him, because Frankie does what he does. It's like, yo, if you if I can't trust you to not open your mouth, that's why he killed Daisy. It's like, oh, Daisy opened her mouth to me about what you did to her. Who's to say who else she's running her mouth to? And the sad thing is, Daisy walked away from the Jackie and Leslie thing, and she had already talked to him, but she walked away from it because she forgave Jorge for acting the way he did, and that's kind of the bummer of it. She wasn't even talking to them anymore because she cut off communications with them, but. So, I guess in the long run, Frankie did the right thing. He just, the timing was just interesting. It all worked out for him, sadly, not for Daisy. Side note, I totally looked it up. The actress who, because I was looking through her IMDb, because, there's photos of her. She was in The Flash last season. She was, she could control, rainbow. I forgot what her power was exactly, but I was like, oh, yeah, I completely forgot you were in The Flash. I did not remember that. Like I said, I think it was a season 6 episode. It wasn't a season 7. No, it was a season. Was it? No, it was a season 7 episode. It might have been a season 7 episode. Yeah, I don't think it was a season 6. It was a season 7 episode. I'm going on tangents, but I was just like, hey, I didn't recognize her from that, because it was her character only popped up for 1 episode. So aside from all of that, we also had the Ray and Renee situation, which Renee's kind of on lockdown a little bit to an extent. I think it's interesting because the entire episode, Renee is scared and worried that Frankie's super suspicious of her. The fact is, he destroyed my phone. He also made sure to have to follow me around. So she's worried, and it's oh, he doesn't trust me anymore. The sad thing is, Frankie's in love. He truly is madly in love with Renee, and he has his doubts here and there, but his heart gets in the way of his brain. His brain probably recognizes oh, something's a little off here, but his heart, he loves her so much. It's you're the woman he loves. Because she even said it herself, her and Frankie have been together since they were 18, and he's the mother of her, she's the mother of his child, so he won't look at her that way. Every precaution he took was for her safety. It wasn't because he didn't trust her, it's because he loved her. That being the irony behind it. But even Ray's right, I don't even care about taking down Frankie. I just want to get you away from him, as best as possible, because, he ends up turning to Jackie, which Jackie and him aren't on good terms because of last episode, but he's right, who cares? I don't care about my job. I just want to make sure Renee's okay, because we both know who Frankie is. He will kill anyone. And Renee, if he finds out Renee has betrayed him, he will not hesitate to kill her. So, and Jackie ends up taking this to Alan. He was like, yeah, go ahead and take it to Alan, which Alan's kind of at the point, just fuck both of you, because both of you are such a damn headache. So now they're using the information from Renee. Renee doesn't know the when and how, but she knows that Charmaine went to New York, which, speaking of New York, we still have no idea. We met Ralphie, who's wasn't it like his uncle's the one that runs that business? We still haven't even met him. But because she had made the remark of like, right, my uncle's been cool with your uncle for the past 20 years, but even now, like, when I'm coming to get the shipment, I still have to be blindfolded. And Ralphie's like, hey, that's just how things work. But there's also like a Ralphie and Charmaine situation, which was kind of like, oh, that was interesting. Like, he's kind of getting all flirtatious with her. It's like, if you want to, you can hold my hand on the way there. She's like, fuck you. But circling back. But with this information about, like, right, we know that they're coming in, like, with Charmaine's coming in with the drugs. Question is how she's coming in. Is she coming in by car? Because we know they're not taking plane anymore, so it's either going to be by car or it's going to be by boat. So Jackie gets Ed's help, when she ends up having to apologize to Ed. And I love that she was like, right, you remember when I was too embarrassed to look at someone in the eye to kind of read them, like, what was it, like, their ledger or something like that. And you told me, like, look them in the eyes, and that would tell you the truth. And she's like, that helped me, and I did it. And she's like, right, that helped me in my, like, first, like, big case. Like, so it's like, where I am right now, I owe it to you, Ed. Like, I know I said some stuff I shouldn't have said, but the fact is that I am sorry. So, like, right, do you want to help me with this bus? And he was like, no, I don't know, Jackie. She's like, oh, he's like, I'm just fucking with you, you know, because she's like, just one more ride before retirement, which I was scared because I was like, don't ever bring up retirement in something related to a cop. And so I was like, oh man, he was one day away from retirement. I'm like, no. It's either, oh, you were one day away from the retirement, or, oh, it was his first day on the job. You never want to be either. I mean, you can get just as got in the middle of your career, like, you know, when we're talking like TV show cops and stuff like that, but still. I was kind of worried for Ed for a second. I was like, oh, please don't get mixed up in this, end up getting killed, because Ed's wife will never forgive Jackie. But I love that the moment it's like, oh, she's also bringing Ray along, which Ed's like, oh, really? This clown? And he's like, whoa, what the fuck's that about, Ed? And so Jackie has to, like, babysit both of them, because, like, Ed's busting his balls for, busting Ray's balls for the fact that he's getting queasy and stuff like that. I just love that she was like, how about all three of us just don't talk? But I love that, like, once again, that suspense of you don't know how it's going to play out, because the moment you see the ferry, it's like, oh my god, this is going to be it. They're going to find Charmaine on the boat, but is it going to go sideways? And they find nothing, because Charmaine wasn't on a ferry. She took the bus, which makes sense. The bus was like her main mode of transportation coming down here in the first place. So it is almost full circle. But sadly, the route she's taking leads to the block where Alan is. And Alan sees the bus stop. He's like, what the fuck's that about? He sees, is that someone getting off? And sees Charmaine. Charmaine tried, like, she had stopped. And he's like, put your hands up. I can help you. She tries to toss the drugs and tries to take off, but gets arrested. They got the drugs. So, like, she's going down. But, you know, when the time comes, she says, a lawyer. The fact is, that actor who plays Alan, he plays angry so well, because your boy Alan was just kind of like, the moment he was like, ooh, he was like squeezed fist and pacing back and forth in the interrogation room. I'm like, he's so pissed. Especially he was like, you know what? Fuck this, Charmaine. Those 3 white kids that died, those bodies are going to be on you. Those bodies are going to be, the bodies of anyone that OD'd on that stuff is going to be on you, including your sister. The moment you said that, any, like, goodwill you're trying to build up with Charmaine was immediately down the toilet, as in a, fuck you. She definitely ain't going to say anything to you now that you, like, throwing her sister back in her face like that. Nah, son, she ain't going to help you at all. I did like that Jackie did try to connect with her a little bit. It's like, oh, I'm from this, and then Charmaine's like, oh, I'm from here. She's like, no, I know. Remember, I got shot in front of your uncle's house. Like, I know where you live. It's like, right, but we're 2 people from a fishing town, and, like, you know, growing up in a fishing, town, and it's like, oh, look where we are right now. Because, like, Jackie was like, yeah, I know you're not going to talk at all. But for her, it's like, she makes the analogy to Moby Dick. It's like, right, you don't want this to end badly, because you're going to be the, like, Frankie's my white whale. He's hurt plenty of girls. There are a lot of girls he's not been afraid of killing. And, like, if you get on his wrong side, you know he won't hesitate to kill you. I mean, hell, you were there when he killed Lance. So he would just as easily do it to you. But I think for Charmaine, it's one of two things. Like, one, she's not going to say anything because she knows if I rat on him, Frankie's going to find a way to kill me from the inside. We've already proven that Frankie has a lot of power even from the inside of prison, so there's that. Two, she's planning on bailing away from Frankie anyway. Plus, there's also the other contributing factor of, well, there is a bigger player in all of this too. Yeah, they're mainly aiming for Frankie, but there's a New York connect. They're going to want her information on that, and she was probably also like, I'm scared of Frankie because he's also on like some psychopathic crap, he's like lost his damn mind, but she probably definitely doesn't want to rat on the New York side of things. To be fair, like, she still has some family left that could be an issue, like her aunt, but, you know, but it's also just kind of like, nah, I ain't no snitch, I'm not going to say anything. But I like that Charmaine was like, right, and ends up correcting Jackie, because she's like, Moby Dick doesn't die in the end, you know, Captain Ahab, you know, does. And I love Jackie being like, spoiler alert, and smiles. But it's just kind of like, yeah, like, because you're trying to make it seem like, which I'm assuming that's going to be foreshadowing, because the white whale in the situation being Frankie. The question is, who's the captain in the metaphor? Is it going to be Jackie? I think it's going to be Ray. I got that sinking feeling like Ray's going to die this season. I mean, I still feel like it's still in the realm of possibility to potentially happen. I don't know if it'll happen with Renee. Once again, she's still sitting on one nugget of truth, whether or not that's going to... I'd assume that's going to come out next episode. It would, because they've just been sitting on it, and she hasn't revealed it to anyone. And now that a certain, like, issue in life has kind of been taken care of, she can bring it up. Like I said, though, your boy Osito is going to take advantage of every situation. So he talks to Alan. I love him saying, like, he's like, oh, what are you trying to get at? He's like, hey, I'm just a black man trying to get me a white man's deal. I was like, oh, I like that line. But he's like, yeah, like, basically, I want a bail hearing in exchange for this information. And it's like, what? This ain't no names. This ain't nothing. This just an address. It's like, yeah, you'll find a body there. That pilot, he's like, Lance Houston. He's like, because he doesn't know. He just knows the pilot. And it's like, oh, you're going to say that name? I'm going to assume that's the same person. He took quite the gamble on that. But it's like, yeah, like, the fact is, Alan kind of gave him that. But Alan was just so, like, in need for information. He was like, oh, you talking about Lance Houston? I guess. I don't know the SOB's name. Also didn't give up where the information came from, so I think that speaks volumes. But it's also like, right, you said there'll be other bodies. Who else will be there? He's like, I don't know. You're the detective. You figured it the fuck out. So Osito's definitely going to be getting his bail hearing. I think everything's going to work out for him pretty well, and especially because he's going to do what he said with the whole him and Janelle thing. But Charmaine did say that she was going to, like, end all of this, which, you know... She even said, like, no matter what, I still got you. So I'm assuming, like, when Osito's out, and now that Frankie's out of the way, we'll get to that in a second, but with Frankie out of the way, I'm assuming Osito's going to pick up those operations, maybe. Keep things flowing into prisons as well. I mean, that depends on, like, how fast this whole situation with Osito works out with the bail hearing. I don't know. Obviously, you have Ray scared out of his mind because it's like, right, we busted Charmaine, but it's only a matter of time until Frankie finds out about Charmaine not being on that bus. He's going to immediately jump to thinking it was Renee. So, the moment he's there seeing, like, oh, there's no Charmaine, and then he sees some, like, undercover cops. Everywhere he's like, oh, I got this. Calls up his boy who's sitting with Renee and say, yo, we got to go somewhere. And I'm like, oh, boy. But the moment, like, because they're in the woods, she's like, are you going to kill me or not? And he's like, just shut up. And they go to where Jorge keeps his stuff stashed. And it's like, right, the boss said you know what to do. But it turned out, yeah. So at first I was like, I'm confused. Because at first I'm like, he's picking up Frankie Jr. So I was like, he's not killing Renee because he could have easily had that done by now, but he's getting that money, so it's like, you're running. Because once again, he doesn't even suspect Renee at all. Like I said, the irony behind it is Renee was so scared and worried that Frankie would figure it out. Frankie didn't figure it out until the very end. And when they're driving away with him in a police car, your boy looks heartbroken. He was just like, I give you my heart. You were my corazon, and you just betrayed me. That just made me think of, like, yeah, I learned a little bit of Spanish just to impress a girlfriend I had back in the day. Te quiero mucho, mi corazón. I know my pronunciation is probably garbage, but nevertheless, it just kind of made me go like, oh, you poor bastard, you romantic. It's like you legitimately loved her, and you thought you guys were. I guess that wedding's being called off, but it's also like, yeah, he's got no love for Renee now, so she can potentially get popped. I mean, he still probably has enough reach. I don't know how many people he has under his thumb because his boy got arrested with him. I love that, like, when Frankie tried to run, like, I don't know who it was. Someone just, like, tackled his ass to the ground through that table. I was like, yo! And Jackie feeling good being the one that actually gets to put the cuffs on Frankie. And then she dropped the bomb on him about, like, oh, yeah, like, this gun, well, because, like, Leslie's like, oh, is this gun going to match the one that killed Daisy? Which he was like, oh, fuck you. And it's like, probably is. Probably going to also match the one that, well, it's also going to match the one that killed, well, because there's a lot to think about, too. One, that gun was definitely used to kill probably Daisy and, Lance, but it was also used to kill Jorge. The fact of the matter is, I don't know how they're going to handle it, but one of those bullets probably has Renee's DNA on it, because she did replace the bullet she used to accidentally kill Jorge. She replaced it, so her fingerprints are probably on that one of those bullets. I think did she wipe the gun down? I don't remember if she wiped the gun down or not. After she used it, like, why would you? Because it's not like Frankie's going to be checking DNA. She made sure to replace the bullet, but it's like her fingerprints might be on that gun too. Because when they did find, sadly, Daisy and Lance's body, they also found Jorge's. I wonder how did they know about? They must, because the person who was ordered to get rid of those bodies. Like, Renee ordered those people to, like, those two ladies before they bailed to Jamaica. It's like, who did they had to have gotten rid of the body themselves. So I'm like, how did they know about that spot? That had to be like a recent spot. I guess that was just like, oh, just coincidence. I guess it's like a good enough isolated spot to make a body. That's also, too, interesting. Like, they have to ask it because it's like, oh, like, they just buried his body a little bit. It's like, wow, the point was to make him disappear, but they didn't make him disappear. I thought that was interesting. Especially since Frankie was just there not too long ago with Charmaine, burying Lance's body, not knowing his cousin was not too far away. So, like, it's all going to get revealed soon. Especially because, like, once again, like, no one realizes that. It comes, he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and, like, about the whole Jorge situation, but, like, Frankie, but Jackie's like, who cares, like, moving along. So, that, like, it's like, holy crap, Jackie was able to kind of arrest him. Alan's there looking smug, and Ray shows up looking smug, like, hey, pal. He's like, oh, you fucking motherfucker, you piece of shit. And now it's like, cool, he's going to be playing dad, or, continue being Uncle Ray / dad to your child. And also playing house with your baby mama, who's also having his baby. So it's all not coming up, Frankie. Plus your boy Osito. Now that's going to be interesting when he gets locked up. He's probably going to think Osito ratted him out. If they're in prison together, Osito with all, like, kind of put himself in a position where he has all the power now. He might make Frankie disappear before Frankie can do something. I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see, like, with Frankie, interestingly enough, like, locked up again. The Charmaine thing is going to be interesting to see how that plays out, too. But, it's like, yeah, Renee's not going to get away with it. Either, like, Ray's going to find out and he's going to turn her over. And then I'm also like, do you think it's going to be a thing of the moment Ray finds out, he's going to try and turn Renee over and Renee's going to kill him because she's like, right, I can't go away for this. I can't, or will he do what he can to protect her from it? I would assume that, like, it's like, right, he loves her so much that he's willing to go so far. I don't know. Like, a lot is resolved to some extent, but there's still a lot that can be, well, I mean, I think the biggest open, thread is the New York angle. Like, that's still a huge open thread, but everything else has kind of been tidied up now, except for the Jorge thing, but that could still get rounded up next episode, because I think the next episode is, in fact, the season finale, so that's going to be wild to see how that plays out. Once again, I'm scared because it's, just, all it takes is, like, doesn't even take an episode, it just takes a couple minutes for any character to get got, and I'm scared. It's, like, I don't think they're going to do it to Renee because she's pregnant, but I'm scared for my boy Ray, because I'm like, oh, Ray's going... I mean, to be fair, Frankie also saw everyone else's face, so Jackie, Jackie's already on his shit list. Ray was already on the shit list, but even further up the list now. Alan is, Leslie is as well, so we shall see how it all plays out in the season finale. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.